became minimum during Muhammad Ali in 1805.
Did this change 22 affect your family at all?
No.
No.
That was just transition from a sultan tradition that was used in the Ottoman Empire to a kingdom.
To a king Farouk.
Yeah, so I was born in the kingdom. No, I was born before the kingdom. In 1922, the year after I was born, the kingdom was established.
What was the first piece of music you wrote?
It's called Misriya.
Okay, we have that today in the two recordings. But they're different. Why is this not notated, and what's different from one Misriyat to the next?
When I did Misriyat, I wanted it to grow with me. To grow with me for year after year. I didn't want to really freeze it on a piece of paper. See, I know once I write it, I said, this is it. It's going to be like that. But I didn't want it to be just like that. I wanted it to be like that and breathing with me as I grow with it. So now maybe I'll decide to put it down after it has lived with me.
All right.
Because once you write something, you freeze it, right?
Well, can't you tell the player to interpret?
Interpret what?
You say, this is the way I'm writing it now. This is Mr.
No, that has different. That's has nothing to do with the interpretation.
Why don't you get on the subject where how when he came to America and how he got him, you know, what?
There's just a couple more things I need to know because I'm doing the archive. Did you ever use a copyist, or did you?
Yes, well, back then there was no. I copied my own music.
Copy your own. And your first concert, I think, was in All Saints Cathedral?
My biggest concert, no, I won 2 competitions in the Opera House. One in
In the Opera House?
Yeah, 1942.
Okay.
I won the competition of the Opera House as a composer.
All right.
I won a competition as a pianist in 1942. But I did not think of myself as taking a profession as a musician.
You were still in agriculture?
I was working in agriculture.
So your first concert was in the Cairo Opera House?
Yeah, my first competition concert was the Egyptian Opera House in 1942.
And what piece was that?
Huh?
What piece of music?
I played Rachmaninoff for the piano competition. I played Rachmaninoff and some works of Rachmaninoff, and in the composition I wrote pieces called Preludium and Muqaddimat.
Related to Sharud?
No. Preludium, like forms of interactive forms as an opening material, as an opening pieces of music. You know, openings, something like that. I wrote I don't know where they are.
Yeah, we don't have those.
We don't have those, yeah, that I entered the competition with.
Entered the competition. Yeah. So after the Opera House,
so the first piece is 1942, was Muqaddimat, and in English would be Preludiums, and some, pieces that interacted with each other in different forms, and I won the competition for composition 1942. But the first piece I wrote down was in 1932, 10 years before.
Was Misriyat.
Yeah, but none of that stopped me from being an agricultural engineer. Okay?
Okay, because you entered the University of Cairo as an agricultural engineer. Why?
Yeah, I graduated from high school, from Kubba High School, which is, they have a palace, one of the palaces of King Farouk. King Farouk had a palace in Kubba. Kubba was my high school, and from that high school I could enter either a medical school or agricultural school. And I decided to go into agriculture because already several of my brothers were my brother and cousin were in the medical school. So I entered the agricultural school.
So was it during this time at Cairo U that you did some of these early pieces like Prelude, Shiru, Dark and Down?
Yeah, when I was in Cairo University.
Cairo University, and these were played at All Saints Cathedral. And
yeah, I didn't play All Saints Cathedral was separate, yeah. 1949. I had finished college. I didn't work in college until 1945, and I was working in agriculture from 1940, and got a degree in 1945, but I was already working, and then I continued to work until 1950 as an agriculture. So for 10 years I was working in agriculture.
And when did you come to the United States?
1950, July 1950.
July 1950.
July 1950.
How old were you then?
28. 28 is it? 50? Because, 29 maybe. Because 51 I was, 30?
Where did you land in the United States? Denver?
I landed in Boston.
In Boston, but you didn't you go to Denver for?
Yeah, later on I did, the same year.
So how long did you stay in Boston?
But you're jumping now.
Well, I asked you,
I jumped her.
Yeah, no, we want to go, how did I come here? That's a different story.
That's the story of how you got here, yeah.
Yeah, how did I get to the United States?
Well, what, back then, boat or what?
Huh?
Boat or plane back then?
No, I mean the documentation or the
program. What made me actually come to the United States?
Well, because you got the job interview, right?
Huh?
Or you
got a scholarship.
Well, I didn't really think of it. I didn't think of taking a career as a music, until one of my compositions was claimed as, they claimed me after that composition as a world composer. In other words, it is dark. I wrote, the whole reason I came here was it is dark and damp on the front. And that piece, when I was in agriculture, I was traveling in Central Egypt with another fellow, and I was putting a crew to work on a land in a farm, and I hear the news of the Egyptian army and what's happening in Palestine and all the clash, and all of a sudden that means the Egyptian government is going to call us for soldiers, and war started, and I was totally in a confusion. And I said the war front is inside every one of us, and that's what made me write a composition called It is Dark and Damp on the Front, and the front is inside every human being. I said when this happened, that means every human being in the whole world has a war front inside of themselves. And when I did that, I wrote that piece while I was agricultural engineer, while I was doing my job. And it was friends of me who really took me out from my agriculture and put me in All Saints Cathedral and asked me to come to play that piece. And that piece claimed to be the newspaper, French, English, Arabic, everything, as a world composer, as though I am already established. As though I have been doing this all my life.
So a lot of people came to see this performance?
Of course, it was full house. Full house several times.
Now, did this influence your coming to the United States? Yeah. This concert influenced you coming to the United States?
No, it's not. This conference made, Europe wanted me, France wanted me, Italy wanted me.
And the French, and you said the French stole something from you?
No, well, that's later on. They didn't steal anything. I mean, I'm talking about a composer later, can take. But the whole organization of French music, they wanted me there. I'm a world composer from Egypt. Italy was the one who really wanted me. And maybe England, but England didn't make a proposition to me. United States at that time didn't have much. So my exposure to the United States didn't happen yet. My first exposure was England, was France, Italy, and England, but no US. It didn't happen to US until April 1949.
April what?
April, May 1949, when I repeated the concert.
When you repeated the Dark and Damp. Is this when you met this Mr. Black?
Huh?
This is Mr. Black.
When the cultural attaché came and listened to me, and the thing that made him wonder is that, you see, the hall was full to the rim, and people standing outside. People were standing outside to listen to me. This is when he said, "I'm Mr. Black. I am Mr. Black, the cultural attaché of the United States Embassy. I like your music. Have you ever thought of going to the United States?" And I said, "No, I didn't think about it." He said, "Come to my office." And he gave me a card, and this is how things started. In other words, he gave me a card and he come visit me.
So the United States' cultural attaché was interested in you.
Habib, you need to ask me. Habib, you want to ask me questions?
Well, I'm following along from the last time we did this, and I'm not remembering any some of the stuff. I don't think she's asking the same questions.
Okay. Or I'm not elaborating as much, but that's why I need both videos so I can go back and review.
Well, the first one you asked them some different questions and they were sounding very interesting. I'm kind of getting lost here on the ones you're asking.
What do you remember?
Coming to America, and then something about how your whole life changed, something about someone stealing a piece of music from you in France or someplace.
Oh.
Well, first he came to before any of that could happen, he had to come to the United States, which was on a scholarship, right?
Okay, so scholarship. Then, after when you came to the United States on a scholarship, then what happened?
Well, he came on 2 scholarships, because I know this part because he flunked his English test.
That's right. You said you flunked. Okay.
So they sent him for TOEFL.
Oh yeah.
Nobody stole anything. I don't think anybody stole any money.
You're talking
Watch your foot. Watch your foot, mother.
Watch your foot.
Mother. The other. Watch your foot.
My right or left?
You're the one that's sticking out by the camera.
My left?
This one.
Okay. This is when he. Okay. That's later.
Okay. And the guy gave you what's his name? The one that gave you that you said you flunked your English test, and then he gave you something. He said, here's your...
Oh, he said, you have to pass the English test. Well, I couldn't finish. He gave me paper to apply for the competition in the United States. To come to it, they said they have 500 applications and they're going to choose 7.
Okay, and you got chosen for some reason.
I was chosen that because of, he listened to his Dark and Damp on the front, that's why. And then he said in order to go to the United States I have to pass English, but I flunked English, so they gave me extra grant to go to Denver, Colorado, to learn English.
And how long did that last?
That lasted half a year.
Half a year to learn English?
Yeah. I went to school, I came in July, well July, August, September, 3.5 months. Yeah, 3.5 months.
Okay.
Because after that I went to Albuquerque.
You went to University of New Mexico in Albuquerque for a music grant, right?
Yeah, for music, yeah.
And then how that go, okay?
And then I went back to...
Four-year programs?
No, they put me in a special graduate position there, as though I have everything. They put me on a graduate track, as though I'm a graduate student because I already have Bachelor of Science from Cairo, but I have to attend all freshman classes. Freshmen, sophomores, seniors, and graduate. I had to attend all the classes from the bottom to up, even though I was in a graduate stand.
Yeah,
that was a very difficult situation. Put you in a graduate school, And then, but I don't know, I have to go through freshman to come back to graduate.
So it was 1 or 2 years of studying?
No, there was just 1 year.
What did you write during this time?
I wrote my first symphony.
Symphony number 1?
And I wrote, my father was having coma, I wrote Coma Dance.
That's when you wrote Coma Dance, okay.
Yeah. And I was invited to Hollywood that year. That year I was invited by Elmer Bernstein.
Who?
Elmer Bernstein.
Is that related to Bruce Springsteen? No.
Leonard. Elmer Bernstein, it was one of the biggest movie writer for music in Hollywood. My teacher, Ancona, her name Ancona, she thought I should do music for Hollywood. She sent me to Hollywood. And the guy asked me to stay. I could have been writing in Hollywood back then, but I was kind of an undisciplined guy. I didn't like it when I went to Hollywood. I said, I'm going back to Egypt. And I aggravated my uncle because he wanted me to stay.
So you finished, let's get the time first.
So what made you didn't want to, and then you didn't want to stay in Hollywood? You didn't like it or what?
I didn't like the attitudes of people there. But Elmer liked me, and I could have stayed there to write movie music.
Wow. What happened? Why?
Huh? Well, if I did, I wouldn't have you as a son.
How do you know that? Now we could be driving Lamborghinis right now.
I still can go to Hollywood, how you told me to. It's not too far.
Right now we can go there tomorrow. 7-hour drive. Alright, so
I went to Hollywood. And I met, that year also I went to the Grand Canyon. And I met a millionaire there who wanted to sponsor me. And I didn't want him to sponsor me. He said he was going to sponsor. It was the beginning of TV back then, 1950, It was the beginning of TV and everything. And the TV was after me. And this guy wanted to sponsor me and everything. I could have been a star like that. But I wasn't ready, I guess. So I wanted to go back to Egypt.
So you left your first wife and went back to Egypt?
Well, I didn't marry her then. You're talking about my first wife, it's the first time she's talking about her. I went and came back to Tango. I just went for a short period to Egypt. And then I was invited, my scholarship was extended.
By the cultural attaché of the United States?
By the organization of Tanglewood.
So Tanglewood found you when you were in Cairo?
Because when Copeland saw my music, Aaron Copeland, he said, anybody who writes music like that, like It Is Dark and Damp, should be my private student.
Well, how did Copeland see your music?
Okay, when I was in Denver, studying English, first of all, I sent a terrible letter to the attaché, and I said, I don't know what I'm doing here in Denver. I can't even touch the kitchen. It's all push button, and I don't know how to cook. So they sent me a lady from the office, the Cairo office. They flew her to America to come and teach me how to cook. And can you believe they did that?
Wow.
Because, I'm used to, back in Egypt, I didn't cook. Everybody cooked on this big, they had this, metal stove with wood burning. And the metal stove, you put the wood, and we had a cook, and it heats all the water of the house. So, but we didn't go in the kitchen and put wood in there. We had people doing it. So when I came to the United States and they gave me a first-class apartment, supposed to be a dormitory with all these modern equipment back then, it's all push button. back in 1950. I didn't have, I mean, students laughed at me because I didn't know how to turn the knobs or push buttons or do any of that. So I screamed and they sent me somebody from the embassy to take care of me.
Amazing.
Isn't it? Spend all that money.
So you were, anyway, we were talking about Copeland saw your piece at New Mexico.
When I was there and have this help, I told this lady I want to get in touch. So actually she helped me find the addresses. So I sent sample of my music to all the major musicians in America, and the big guys. And I sent a sample of my music. The only thing was that all of it, because it was about not so big, was it is dark and damp. So when I mailed it around, one of them fell in the hand of Aaron Copland. The minute he saw it, he said, anybody who writes like this should be my private student. And Aaron Copland was the biggest composer in America then. You've heard the name Aaron Copland? Okay, he was the top guy in contemporary music. And Koussevitzky was the director. Koussevitzky. So immediately I have a cable that I'm a private student with him. The embassy in Cairo was so excited that I'm going to be student of the most famous composer and one of the most famous composers. So they extended everything. They extended my grant, and extended my monthly pay and travel expenses and everything. So all of a sudden, here I am in the best festival of contemporary music in the world in 1951, in the summer of 1951.
And Tanglewood was a summer program?
Yeah. So I went there summer 1951 and summer 1952.
And what did you do in between?
I think I went back to Egypt and I came back. Was now this time Brandeis was about. I met Irving Fine. Irving Fine was another composer who was very entitled. Irving Fine, and he was a composer at Harvard. You know, Harvard University, and he was going to start music school at Brandeis. And he invited me to teach Arabic and get a graduate assistantship after I was invited by New England Conservatory.
After you were invited?
I went to a New England Conservatory and I get a Master of Composition. So now from a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, now I have a degree, Master's of Music Composition.
From Brandeis?
No, from New England. Brandeis was going to give me a doctorate degree, but they were just beginning. They didn't have a doctorate degree. They gave me an MFA.
MFA.
Yeah.
So the moves were limited.
So it went from coming to Denver to New Mexico. So when I went to Tanglewood, you know who followed me there? My girlfriend from New Mexico, and that was Mary. I had two girlfriends.
Who was the other one?
The other one was Latino girl. She kind of dropped off. She didn't pursue me.
So you went Egypt, Denver to study English, University of New Mexico, back to Egypt, then to Tanglewood, and then to Brandeis after that.
How did you travel so much? Who paid for all the travel?
The United States government.
United States culture. So you went to Tanglewood, to Brandeis, back to Tanglewood. Let me just
all
get
planes.
Yeah.
All by plane.
By what? Yeah, one of my travels.
I don't know what they used back then. That's why I'm asking.
Huh?
I don't know what they used back then. I mean, I'm not saying horse and buggy. I'm just saying train.
It took the first train. The first plane I took was TWA. Took 36 hours.
To do where?
To go from Cairo to Boston.
36 hours. Is that normal today?
Huh?
No, it's 14.
No. Today is 12 hours.
Non-stop.
Non-stop is 10 hours.
And you were back then was 36 hours? What was the plane? Propellers?
Yeah.
And what did it have to do? Stop in the middle of the ocean and fill up on a
No, okay. There was Cairo, Athens.
What's that?
Athens, Greece, the capital of Greece.
Okay.
That's not far. And then from Athens to Rome.
Okay.
From Rome to Paris.
Wow.
From Paris to Ireland. From Ireland to Newfoundland. Newfoundland across in Canada.
Newfoundland, yeah, I know what you do. Yeah, I know.
And from Newfoundland to Boston. And Boston to New York.
Wow.
I thought the Azores were in there too.
Yeah, the Azores on the ship when I went back to Egypt.
36 hours, I can see why.
Yeah. But you know what's fabulous? Because you come into the plane, they give you free drinks, you know, very few people travel. And you go out and your plane comes in Athens, they don't let you sit there. You go out and walk and go to restaurants and then you come back and you go on the plane. It's funny, one was sitting to me with the mother of a very famous American composer. He was sitting right next to me. Yeah, so I made a trip